And gang fights are the norm at Cape Flat schools. In the latest incident, a boy was stabbed at Manenberg High School. That's after a fight broke out between two groups of pupils and community members linked to gangs. Let's go to Athi Mtongana. She'll bring us the latest on how they've been dealing with this in the Western Cape. Athi, a very good morning to you. And I think you heard the interviews that Lindo has been conducting this morning. It's kind of new for us here in Gauteng, but I mean, you've had, what, 17 stabbings since the beginning of this year alone there in the Western Cape. How are authorities there dealing with incidents like this?
Well, Yuveka, we know that the Western Cape Education Department is working with law enforcement agencies in the city of Cape Town, as well as the South African police, to try and ensure that they are visible at these schools, that in the instance where there are fights between pupils in school, that they are there to ensure that there is safety within the school premises. And in fact, behind us, Manenberg High, we saw a number of law enforcement officers who are here, obviously trying to ensure the safety of learners as well as the staff members, because they do get affected by the fights that do happen within the school premises. And I must mention how the gangsterism that happens outside these schools does end up spilling over and affecting what happens inside the school premises. So the city of Cape Town, South African police, as well as the Western Cape Education Department, joining hands in ensuring that safety is the order inside schools in the Western Cape, even though we're seeing that there's been an increase in stabbing incidents in the Western Cape in 2019 alone.
Now, Athi, I mean, you've sent us some pictures earlier. We had some pictures of what has been found in some of these searches and those operations. I mean, it is incredibly scary. It is incredibly worrying looking at some of these pictures. I mean, I'm just looking at one of them, and it's what would we describe as what, bush knives commonly? That this is what pupils have been found to be carrying. I mean, just from investigations, what have been the motives? What have been the reasons for why children would attack children using weapons like this?
I'll just speak to another incident that happened on Tuesday, Yuveka, in Lwandle at a school there. It is alleged that the school pupils that were involved in the stabbing incident there were involved in gambling. So that learner then did not receive the money that they had hoped they'd receive, and then it ended up in a stabbing incident. So some of them are obviously linked to what happens in the school relating to gambling. Some instances you have members of the community who are involved in a lot of gangsterism, and some of the pupils actually also involved in several gangs, also now playing out inside the school premises. So most of these cases are largely linked to gangsterism, but of course the socio-economic conditions from which these children come from play a huge role in what happens inside the school. So like I said, the Western Cape Education Department, the South African police, the city's law enforcement agencies collaborating and ensuring that they do try to keep the schools safe. But obviously through some of the interventions that the Western Cape Education Department has implemented, like giving schools metal detectors to detect whenever students come in with dangerous weapons, students do try to evade those interventions by obviously trying to hide the knives that you are seeing, Yuveka, the weapons that they bring inside the school premises. And in fact, the pictures that you're seeing courtesy the city of Cape Town, those images were taken during Valentine's Day celebrations in February, where thousands of students descended around various parks in Claremont where they were celebrating Valentine's Day. Those very harmful weapons were confiscated from them, including alcohol bottles, genitals, and some pupils there were also stabbed. 5 pupils, to be exact, were stabbed in that particular incident, and 2 students were also arrested for allegedly trying to rob members of the public using pellet guns as well. So what law enforcement officers do when they do get to the school premises is they search, they conduct body searches, they find these very alarming and shocking weapons that these kids do bring in at school. So it is going to take quite some time, and I must mention that a psychologist that I spoke to yesterday says there is a need for a lot of counseling in these schools. Yuveka.
Thanks very much, Athi Mtongana.